and before his election to Congress was chair of the Department of Psychology at Pacific Lutheran University in Tacoma. His work was with state and Veterans Administration psychiatric hospitals, in community mental health clinics, substance abuse treatment programs, institutions for juvenile offenders, and in head injury rehabilitation programs. Candidate Baird barely lost that 1996 election, but he triumphed in 1998 and began a 12-year stint in the House of Representatives. For 12 years, he has served our politically diverse district with sensitivity, openness, and dedication. His constituents know him to be a listener, thinker, and someone who cares and responds and works very hard for all of us. On election morning in 1998, Craig and I stood in a busy Plum Street intersection in Olympia, waving our Brian Baird campaign signs. A co-worker drove by and later reported that Craig was such an animated sign waver that for a moment he thought he must be the candidate himself. That enthusiasm has only grown during the past 7 years as our personal journey has included a path through Congress, and Craig would like to share a few highlights.
Yeah, so Cindy said some facts about Congressman Baird, but as you can tell, for all of us watching what we were able to watch here, it's more than facts. It's very personal. And I want to try to explain some of how I feel, just with some anecdotes. So when Rachel was killed, Cindy and I were living on the East Coast, and our son was in Washington, D.C. We flew that Sunday. I was doing the laundry when we found out about it. We flew that Sunday to be with our son in Washington, D.C. And Congressman Baird actually caught up with us or got to D.C. The following Monday morning. And he had by that time made contact with us. He'd given us the home phone number of his chief of staff, and he was with us. I remember going into his office then on Tuesday and working and Cindy had spent Monday night up writing something. She had a message that she wanted to give to members of Congress from Rachel, essentially trying to give a message, and Brian read that, and he wrote out a little cover letter, and then he had an aide help us go around to different offices, and then he looked at us and he looked at the aide and he said, "Don't make appointments," and I knew he saw we were tired. He then gave us his private office for the rest of really 2 days that we were there, and I remember coming back to that office as a sanctuary. We did that over the years, but in those first few days, when he was seeing us as exhausted emotionally, in every other sense that we could possibly be. He came back once to that office, and Cindy and I were in there. I think we had a friend, and I was laying on the floor, just sort of relaxing, and he just walked in quietly, and he got a blanket out, and he put it over me. And then the next day, I was calling back to my office. I told you I was doing the laundry. Well, I packed a couple of white pillowcases instead of shirts. And so I was calling some friends back home, and I was saying, you know, put a suit in a box, FedEx it out to me to the West End, and throw in a couple of shirts, you know, and all that, and you overheard me. And you said, you need a shirt? I've got a shirt. And I said, you realize, when I got off the phone, I said, you realize you're a member of U.S. Congress and you just offered to give me the shirt off your back? He said, no, I've got a clean one right over here. And so it went. I'm going to skip some stuff here, but what I remember is the morning we got a call from Sarah. And she said she was almost crying on the phone, our daughter Sarah. And she said, Baird's in Gaza. Baird's in Gaza. And I remember calling your chief of staff, and she said it's life-changing. And if you see it, I wasn't there, I can't imagine it. But what I've read what he wrote right after he got out. And I remember my son-in-law, Kelly, saying, Rachel could have written it. So if you haven't gone to his website and read what he wrote after that first trip to Gaza, I'd ask you to do that. I want to talk about something else that most of my anti-war progressive friends don't see as his highest hour, but to me, It was, you're laughing, I hope so, but it really was. And because, as you may know, Congressman Baird voted against our going to war in Iraq, but then he also went over there, and I can't remember the year, I'm thinking it's probably 2008, and went and visited troops and stuff, and he came back and he actually supported then the president's surge. And so we all figured, well, he drank the Kool-Aid. And I do remember he had a town hall meeting, and there were probably, I don't know, 300-400 people there, all supporters of the congressman, all lined up to give him hell for, and from 7 in the evening until 11 in the evening, Congressman Baird defended his position against anybody that wanted to come up and talk, and some that didn't come to the podium. And I remember in that he said, I think you said that we had to remember that the invasion of Iraq that second time was perhaps, I believe I've got this right and I didn't write it down, the greatest mistake in the history of American foreign policy. But it wasn't a question of, well, how we got in there. The question was, what do we do now that we're in there? And he went through his reasoning, most of which I agreed with, because we owed something to Iraq besides leaving. We had done such devastation, and there would be such an aftermath. Now, the place we may still part company is whether keeping a U.S. military presence in Iraq could make things better, where we could pay that, whether it's capable of paying back that debt. But I watched him that night, and it said, when have you seen any other person associated with our government stand up and take the heat for what was going on and their beliefs and their actions and their votes on Iraq? And I don't know of anybody else, but for 4 hours, and that was just part of a horrible weekend for him, I'm sure, that he did that. So, so I remember at the end of that evening, when a lot of the people had gone home, I remember a cat call coming from the left, or it actually was better than a cat call, and he said, "Brian, how do you know you're right?" And he turned around and he said, "I don't know I'm right, but I know it's too important to stand on the sidelines." And I thought, okay, now we've got a person with the courage to take a stand, a moral stand that I could see did him absolutely no political good. And I'm proud of that for my congressman. He's not going to run again. And I can tell you as a constituent, I'm disappointed. Actually, I'm angry. I can tell you as a friend, however, I feel like I did when my buddies left Vietnam with their arms and legs intact. The congressman is leaving Congress with his integrity intact. And I don't think that's a small thing in the U.S. Congress. And so, as a friend, I celebrate you leaving. So it's with immense gratitude, respect, love, and affection that Cindy and I would like you to join with us in welcoming our congressman and our friend, Brian Baird. Thank you.
Given this tremendous speech.
Phyllis just asked me to do the honors, so it is with a great deal of respect and pleasure that I present the End the Occupation, the U.S. campaign to end the Israeli occupation award to Representative Brian Baird, the Courage in Congress Award, in honor of his outstanding work for peace and justice.